The existence of a large number of varieties of English has several implications for language pedagogy. These varieties of English have emerged as a result of the use of English in bilingual or multilingual contexts. We see that the British English, other than the standard British English, which means the varieties of British English which are used by Welsh people, Scottish people, Irish people, all these varieties of British English also emerged in bilingual contexts. Similarly, many Englishes in the outer and expanding circle countries also developed in bilingual and multilingual contexts. For example, Pakistani variety of English, Indian variety of English, Singaporean variety of English, all these varieties developed in multilingual contexts. So, in these countries, there is a constant debate going on whether to use a local variety of English as a standard or the native variety of English as a standard. The American English, which was the first overseas planted inner circle English, also faced similar challenge in the beginning, and it was after a lot of struggle that the American English was able to free itself from the British English and got itself acknowledged as a native variety of English. On these varieties of English, these varieties of English which have developed in bilingual or multilingual contexts, it is obvious, it goes without saying that we see the influence of substrate on these varieties. The influence of local language on these varieties. The influence of the local varieties of local languages, sorry, not a local variety of language, but local languages, a substrate, a language which is subordinate to English in different contexts. So the influence of that substrate language is observed in indigenous functional use of English. For example, if you have to use English, let's say in Pakistani context, to talk about Eid celebrations, now this is a festival which is unique to our context and other Islamic countries. So this festival is completely alien to the native English speaking culture or context. So to talk about this festival, the Pakistani speakers of English will have to make certain accommodations, borrow from Urdu or their own other local languages, etc. So in this way, we see the influence of local languages on these varieties of English, mostly in the domain of the functional use of the language. As a result of the use of or the borrowings from local languages and the emergence of a large number of varieties of Englishes, the ELT professionals or the world of English language teaching faces this dilemma whether to use a local variety of English as a model or the native variety of English as a model. That is, whether to use an exonormative model or an endonormative model. An exonormative model would be the use of a native variety of English as a model. An endonormative model of English would be the use of a local variety of English as a model. For example, the use of a Pakistani variety or Sri Lankan variety or Indian variety of English. Classroom is the biggest testing ground for the selection of a variety as standard. For example, if you want to see whether the selection of a certain variety rather than the native variety will be accepted by the general population in a particular country, or what kind of challenges will be faced in the introduction of a local variety of English as a standard, the classroom seems to be the best testing ground for such a decision. It must also be noted that teachers, by default, provide an endonormative model because many of the teachers who teach in the outer or expanding circle countries, they themselves have studied English in these outer circle contexts by the teachers who are also from the same context. So, and in some cases, they do not even know that the variety of English that they are using is different from the standard variety of English or is not the standard variety of English. So they teach the same model to their students. So in this way, we see that by default, endonormative model is used as a standard for new varieties of English. And because of the use of an endonormative model by teachers, a shift from exonormative model to endonormative model is also, it cannot be prevented either, because gradually everybody will start using the model which is used by the teachers. So we see that selection of a variety to be used as a model in the new varieties of English is a challenge which the ELT professionals constantly face.